Hi, it's Jen from Shabby Fabrics. One of Moda's newest types of pre-cuts is called Honeycomb. They're really fun and they're really meant to be used for English paper piecing. I couldn't resist using them to make this flag quilt using the American Gatherings collection, which is by Primitive Gatherings for Moda Fabrics. I love that really kind of more Civil War looking colors and just styling of the way Lisa designed the fabric. This is really fun for a wall hanging, maybe a table topper and an entryway. So I want to show you how to use the honeycombs in conjunction with a product we created here at Shabby Fabrics. These are called freezer paper hexies. They make the process of traditional English paper piecing so much faster and I think more fun. So let me talk to you a little bit about the honeycomb. This is how they come. Here's a package of them, beautifully cut. And again, you know, this is a fairly new pre-cut for Moda. We're finding that they're making the honeycomb pre-cut available with just a few collections now and again. So you may or may not find your fabric collection in honeycomb. If that's the case, we have made available a template where you can simply grab that. It's very affordable. Grab a pack of your freezer paper hexies, and you're able to really create your own honeycomb. And you'll be able to do whatever project you want to do, whether it's a flag, maybe a pillow, or something else completely different. If you are going to be making your own honeycomb, as they're calling it, and you're using the acrylic template, you'll simply put your fabric down. We recommend, by the way, that you pre-size that. These really work out well with whether you're using your own fabrics or even the pre-cut honeycomb. By adding some sizing, it's really going to keep that crease. That's going to be important for us a little bit later on. Anytime we can add that body to any fabric, it's much more likely to hold that pressed in crease. So if you're going to be making your own, I would love to recommend a spinning mat to keep yourself safe so that when you are positioning this on your fabric, you're not doing any kind of dangerous cuts. You're able to make a cut, you know, just keep your finger on that, rotate, turn, and that way you're just staying safe. But you can imagine a project like this, or really any project that has any kind of size, that's a lot of pre-cutting. So the honeycomb pre-cuts are very welcome. They save us a lot of time and that we can jump right into the fun. So what's this business about this freezer paper? So let me show you how fun that is to be able to use that and how fast we can prepare our little hexies to be able to make our project. So we'll grab fabric and I'll just add some sizing. I haven't done that yet. And you can, if you're going to be getting this kit, by the way, you'll get a full package of these in there. You'll have some extras in there. So if you have a particular fabric you really like, you'll be able to use that and have plenty left over. You can even practice on some of those, but you'll get a full package inside your kit. So we have that. I can already feel the fabric is much stiffer. That's exactly what we want. The freezer paper hexies, how this will work is we have a flat side on one side and we have the shiny side. I'd like to recommend that you go ahead with the shiny side up. Now, if you don't like that approach and you really want to iron that shiny side down and be able to roll the edges over and use a basting glue, you can absolutely do that. And that is a way that a lot of people do that with traditional paper piecing. These would have no adhesive at all. You'd use a little bead of glue, iron this down, put a little stripe of glue on, again with the Roxanne's glue based it. It becomes very gluey. That's why I think this approach, well, I know this is my favorite approach, and it's a lot cleaner. Really no glue is required at all. So we'll go ahead and just position our freezer paper hexie where we visually have about the same distance all the way around. And I will bring an edge over. I'm going to try to avoid touching the part of the paper that's in the middle because this is adhesive. You know, if you got a little bit of that on the bottom of your iron, I don't think it would cause any damage because it is freezer paper. It's not like it's a iron-on. It's not like it's a heat and bond product where there's a true transfer, but I try to avoid that. Go ahead, ironing all the way around and just see how fast this is coming together. Super fun process. And the freezer paper Hexies are reusable. So I'm going to iron that down, and again, iron it from this side. I go ahead and let that cool. While that's cooling, I would go ahead and get my next freezer paper Hexi, get my next fabric out, and of course, right side up again. Once this is cooled, this is a really fun tool that we found handy for just getting in underneath here and helping that fabric release from the freezer paper. It's a handy tool anyway. You may have seen me use this in other videos. Hey, by the way, if you haven't already subscribed, please do that. And that way you're never going to miss out on any videos. Now we just removed that, and we can use this freezer paper Hexi 10, 12, 15 times. And each time it's just a little bit less tacky, which is actually easier because it makes it even easier to remove the paper next time. We only really need the freezer paper in place to have the edge to turn the fabric over. So the fact that it has a little bit less adhesion is actually great because it'll release with less effort. So let's iron that down. And now we've prepared a Hexi. See how fun and easy that is? Super fun. Now for our next step, we're going to need some space. So I'm going to smooth this out of the way. And we're going to need our little Hexis because we're going to work on laying them out. We're building a grid, of course, and I'm going to move that out of the way. So in our pattern, by the way, if you're going to use your fabrics at home, your own red, white, and blue, just pick up the paid pattern. It's full color throughout, helping you all along the way. And of course, the video now will hopefully, if you had any questions, we'll resolve that. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, I just saw this here. For your two of the Hexis, this one right here, and right here. Notice how half of that Hexi is blue and half of that Hexi is white, because that gave us nice clean line. For that one, you'll just grab your favorite two Hexis, one blue, one white, and on the back side of your white, from point to point, we'll just make sure we're drawing exactly that vertical straight up and down. Place your fabrics right side together, stitch on that line. I went ahead and did that ahead of time. And let's just trim that away real quick with a 1/4 inch seam. And let's press that real fast. Go ahead and press that one open. That's how you'll work with those two special sections of the flag portion where it transitions from the blue field to the white. And again, you only have to do this twice. So now you have the same size as the other Hexis. These are not different. You'll put your paper in and prepare this the exact same way. So I almost forgot to tell you about that part. Once you've prepared all of your Hexis, you'll need a piece of a white background. And we have our specific sizes of that indicated. And we're going to draw a line from north to south and east to west to create our center point. You want to make sure you're very accurate about that. All right, let me put that aside for the moment. Again, we just need some space because I'm going to bring that out. And this is where we'll begin to lay out our flag. So I'll just kind of drape that over here. Of course, you're going to want a space that's completely cleared out. And if you have a surface underneath here, you want to be, if there's any glue that's going to potentially be sinking through this, that's not going to be a problem. So I just wanted to mention that as well. Maybe another sheet or something like that. We'll start with a white Hexi. The white Hexi is our center. This is where the Roxanne's glue base is fantastic. And you're going to be using this. And we'll just put little dabs of glue here. And you'll want to establish your center. Everything will be starting from the center and working its way out. This edge, I'm just trying to split that gap. If I wanted to be super specific, I could kind of put a little crease in there, but I'm just going to visually find that center. I feel like that's the same distance. And I'm running north to south from that point to that point. That's my first piece. Now, I recommend as you're adding pieces, you're adding some to the left and some to the right, left, right, versus just going all to the left. I think it helps to just keep it from going cattywampus. But again, this is why we have our grid drawn out for us. So you'll just continue to add that, and you want to tuck that right in there. And again, I'm splitting that gap so I don't start veering away. I want to keep having that equidistant. That line should always intercept. And then I'll add a couple reds below and as well as above, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so you'll keep building those rows out. You have your whites, you have your red. In fact, let me show you. This is what we're going to be building. And remember those two special hexes where they go. It's going to look a little weird on the sides here. Let me bring that down. So it's going to look like this. That's normal. Let's move on to the next step here. Before we trim anything, we want to add some fusible fleece. And that's going to, of course, be the fusible side will be on the back side. Just for, because that's a little bit big and awkward. Actually, I can just put that on there real quick. So iron that down. You just put that behind there. And I want to point this part out in the pattern. Once you have this ironed down, you will trim your edges to a scant 1/4 inch outside of the hexi intersections. Notice the gap if the overhead camera zooms in. Notice you're using basically your whites and that point to measure a scant 1/4 inch to that side, and top and bottom. And there's a little bit, you're seeing the white background. That's what's showing right there. That's normal. You're going to be needing that for the next step. Once you have that trimmed, of course, mine, I'm not trimming it because mine's not all built out. Now you'll grab your backing fabric. Your backing fabric needs to be wrong side up. We'll try to layer that. It's quite big. All these projects are quite big here. Let's layer that because I want you to be able to see it. Now, keep in mind, again, this is after you've already trimmed, like I just mentioned in that step. Then we will be bringing our backing fabric in. And of course, it would be trimmed to size per the pattern. But you get the idea that once we start sewing our hexes down, we're going all the way through to the very back of the project. And that's maybe different than you're used to doing because as quilters, we're used to piecing the top and then we add our batting and we add the backing and we're not quilting all the way through. Applique has already been done. This is going to be a little bit different. Again, you would have trimmed this down because we're going to be using a self-binding technique, which is explained, and I won't go into that detail. We have a nice visual on that for you here. But the thing I do want to show you is one thing you might want to consider, because now we will be sewing the hexes down, is you've got really kind of two choices. You can use a basting spray on the back side of the fusible fleece or on your backing fabric so that these have contact. Or if you don't want to use the basting spray and you want to be using pins, you'll just need to pin through. And the patchwork pins are great for this because they're a little bit shorter. We need to stay out of the track of where we'll be coming here with our presser foot and doing a zigzag stitch. Now we have our settings, and I think I'll check that on my pattern real quick to make sure because I think it was a 1.3. It is a 1.3. We're sewing on our BERNINA 770 today. So for us, we have a stitch length of 1.3 and a width of 2.5. I've got the sulky invisible thread. We also offer monopoly clear. Pick your favorite clear thread. And again, basting spray or pin, you're going to want some shorter pins. Keep them out of the track of that sewing machine. Now, I will demonstrate how to do this, but really the whole goal here is to try to just keep sewing and not have to cut our thread. So plan your track. If this was all completely built out, I would probably be coming here, up and around, and kind of addressing the rows that way, stitching here, there. You see what I'm saying? Kind of like in long arm quilting. The goal is to kind of just keep moving. So let's go ahead and go to the sewing machine. We'll just get started. I just wanted to show you how nice it does look with the not the monopoly. I've got the monopoly looks great. I just loaded up the sulky today. I use them interchangeably. I like them both really equally. And I will just be looking at my center of my presser foot with the idea that my stitch is hopping back and forth. And then I will simply pivot and go on to the next hexie. Now this is again where this tool can come in really handy because it helps keep those tips down. We use this to release our papers from our fabric, but now I'm using it again to keep those points from wanting to rise up. Now we'll pivot. It's a little bit of a bigger project and maneuver here. And you can see how I want to keep that pin out of the way. I might even pull it this way a little bit. And then we just keep coming down. And that's how you sew everything down to the background. And of course, when you do need to stop, you're just simply going to stop and, start again. So let's just have a look at that. I want to get a real close up while we're here in the camera and just see how nice that looks there. How fun to be able to, in English paper piecing, those would be done by hand, right sides together with a stitch. And how nice that really, even in close-up photography, it's nearly invisible. So let me just cut my thread. We'll come back to the front camera here. And as I mentioned in our instructions, and we're having you do a self-binding technique. Hey, if you didn't want to do that, you could absolutely just trim your backing and bind it as you normally would, right? It's a wall hanging. So that's just one idea that you could follow or use your own binding. So you've learned today that, hey, those honeycombs are a really fun pre-cut, but if you don't have those available or you want to do your own, grab that template and a spinning mat, make your own. Be sure to pick up those freezer paper hexies. They make this process so fast and fun. So thank you for giving me part of your day to show you this really fun technique, and I'll see you soon.